Yo, what's up? It's Manny, and we're currently downtown celebrating the World Cup in Atlanta. With the World Cup finally here, the city has had a lot of issues to fix with a little amount of time that they've given themselves. From infrastructure projects to new MARTA trains that nobody has been on, the one important issue currently is the housing. Over 2,000 individuals are living unhoused in Atlanta. And with big international events like this, the city has had a history of harsh measures to make it seem like it's not even there.
Shamefully, in my opinion, Atlanta knocked down a bunch of public housing. They told people, here's a Section 8 voucher, go find some place to live. Not here.
We got 9,000 arrest citations. And what they were was pre-printed African-American male homeless. By the time the Olympics came, they had passed an ordinance that said if you were arrested more than, it was perpetual arrests, you could be kept in jail for 6 months.
5 o'clock in the morning, with your ass on the street, you really gonna be killed.
Is that everywhere or just down here?
So for the past 4 months, I've been truly trying to figure out what the housing issue is. I've spoken to avocational groups, researched the city's own efforts, and even interviewed people like you. So as we look back at my findings in this week's episode, I hope I can bring light into the situation and more better opportunities can come to these people that need it. The theory behind this episode came upon one thing: my commute. Homelessness has been a systematic issue that all major cities have been dealing with. And in my past year being downtown, I've grown to see these people along my daily walks to class. Some have moments when they want to talk to you and build conversations. Others prefer to be by themselves. So back in April, I interviewed students to get their own opinion about the unhoused population and what they wanted to see happen to these people. What's your name?
My name is Madison.
All right, my name is Eli.
Hi, I'm Sean.
My name is Azariah.
First question I got is, what's your views and opinions of the unhoused people downtown?
I mean, my opinion is that they need help.
As a community, we can do way better to help them out. Like, I honestly feel really bad seeing people laying on the street, you know, sleeping.
I see unhoused people, I get immediately upset with the people who run the city. I think there's a lot of money that's put into things like stadiums and building the city for other activities like FIFA.
Downtown Atlanta is filled with empty buildings. That building literally right there is a skyscraper that is mostly empty. There are other buildings just like it everywhere in downtown Atlanta. Meanwhile, we have a bunch of people living out in the street because they don't have anywhere to go. And we're allowing these corporate developers and these billionaires to own all the property in the city and withhold it from the people who actually need it.
It's incredibly saddening how normalized it is just to see bodies on the ground. The fact that I feel like we're all partially just like desensitized to it, and like it's a normalcy. So I hope that, you know, one day in the future we look back at homelessness as we look back at all of other humanity's atrocities. You know, it should be a right to live in one of the wealthiest countries in the world with all your basic needs met.
If you had the power, what would you do?
I would start by just like reallocating a lot of the money that's going to like policing and just like the state and the military in general. Put that, you know what I'm saying, into like, you know, social proof of problem, you know, make some like, you know, housing for these people, you know what I mean? Allow them to have access to food, water, and shelter, and make it not something that has to be monetized, you know?
I would open up some type of like big facility, like a YMCA, but instead of like activities, it would be something that's like educational.
Honestly, I am one of the people that feel like homelessness sometimes is a choice. I would personally give them like their own areas to be in where like they could be away from the campus. At least the campus should be more safe.
Give them housing. Give them housing immediately, and none of that like affordable housing bullshit. People should not have to pay for housing, because just like food, just like water, shelter is a definitive human right.
I love that. I love how the community is kind of going about it with, you know, promoting like events and giving back through, you know, like, you know, meals, doing that weekly. But I feel like there has to be some rehabilitation program that's catered strictly to them by the government. But, you know, the government don't be doing shit for people nowadays and shit like that. So I feel
Fuck off.
Give them some sort of education, you know what I mean? Like, education can really help someone. Like, a lot of people don't really be big on education anymore, but like, if you could take your mind off of drugs and put it into the books, and at least it's helping you.
Give people houses. We have the resources to do it. We have the money to do it. And instead of, ostracizing people, and a lot of the students here, when talking about like safety, they mention like homeless people, unhoused people as like scary, when in all reality, all actuality is that they're just trying to exist like we are. And if you treat people with humility, I think that will go a long way.
So now that we understand what I and others want to see happen to these people, I wanted to meet with groups applying pressure to local officials and making sure that these people are protected during this tournament. That's when I found about Playfair ATL. And back in May, I was able to meet with the coalition spokesperson to truly figure out what Playfair is.
My name is Michael Collins. I am the director of Playfair ATL. We are a coalition of 35 groups that are focused on housing, criminal justice, immigration and labour. All groups are based in Atlanta, and we focus on policy advocacy and organising and education.
Now, as I've been saying, Playfair has been advocating at a more local level when it comes to these issues. And it mainly has to do with the city not initially planning on having this tournament downtown.
City council members feel kept out of the loop. The kind of original sin, if you like, with World Cup planning in Atlanta is that the World Cup is not planned by city officials, it's not planned by the mayor's office, it's not planned by agencies. The planning for the World Cup is outsourced to a host committee, and that host committee is led by the Chamber of Commerce. And the mayor's office, is nominally part of the host committee, but really it's the Chamber of Commerce that does all the planning for the World Cup.
Going back to the intro of this episode, the city chose the criminalization route back in '96. 30 years later, Playfair is making sure that doesn't ever happen again.
If people get arrested, they're going to end up in Fulton County Jail. Fulton County Jail is an unconstitutional hellhole that sees anywhere between 10 and 15 deaths a year. All sorts of overcrowding issues there. And so the idea that we're going to put people in there because we want to make the city look nice so that maybe some people can make some extra money during the 2-3 weeks that the World Cup is on, no, that's not something that we are down with at all.
Along with the unhoused community, regular housing has become troublesome in the city as well.
I think we have also, in a city like Atlanta, the housing market has become incredibly challenging for renters. We also have corporations who are buying up apartments, houses, family units, and turning them into a kind of Wall Street style cash cow. And then we have obviously short-term rental companies like Airbnb, who also add to the challenges. We are trying to create an office of the tenant advocate. There's not really a good place in the city to get legal advice, to fight your eviction, to find out what is the kind of right process that you should be pursuing. And we're trying to turn the tables on that and give tenants a little bit more rights. And we would like to see revenue from the World Cup go into that so that we can sort of do something to mitigate the housing crisis in the city.
Now, Playfair doesn't just handle around local leadership. They also hold their own events to keep the community well informed. During our interview in May, Playfair recently had their own People's Cup tournament.
All with the community events is that we do outreach to community to hear about what are their concerns about the World Cup. The host committee has not held a single public meeting. They don't go to community meetings. They don't go to NPUs, any of that sort of stuff. They don't really show up to city council. So we've tried to sort of engage community to figure out what are they concerned about when it comes to the World Cup and how can we be supportive. And then also we in turn try and educate them about what we're trying to do. We've done the People's Cup, which was a soccer tournament where we had individuals show up and represent different countries that they were affiliated with. And then at the same event, we had a lot of organizations who we partner with doing tabling. so that they were doing outreach and flyering and education. Just we're trying to make sure that people, you know, it's kind of like twofold. There's like the education about the World Cup. There's also the fact that like the World Cup itself is going to be out of reach for a lot of ordinary people in Atlanta because the tickets are so expensive.
Throughout that last interview with Michael, I was mentioning to him the city's own efforts. So to keep this episode fair, I decided to take this moment to look at what they were actually doing. The current serving 61st mayor of Atlanta, Andre Dickens, has shown interest in addressing Atlanta's housing issue. From his campaign websites to actual housing address, Dickens has set an overall goal of building or preserving 20,000 units of affordable housing across the city by the year 2030. Getting into how much is being used to combat the unhoused issue, Dickens' website states that there's been a quote committed $60 million to combat homelessness in Atlanta. With the overall $300 million being used for this affordable housing goal, one could believe that this is a product of the Atlanta Rising project. Back in 2025, Partners for Home, a nonprofit organization established by the city of Atlanta, announced a plan of Atlanta Rising, a $212 million campaign to end unsheltered homelessness in Atlanta. And while there's different inputs in store for this project, for this episode we're only going to focus on the Downtown Rising plan. In addition to ending unsheltered homelessness in the city, Downtown Rising added an additional goal of housing 400 homeless Atlanteans currently living downtown by the end of 2025, all with the hopes of, quote, improving appearance and livability of the downtown area in preparation for the FIFA 2026 World Cup and other events beyond it. While the majority of units being permanent supporting housing, the city has also restored and built their own housing units, one called Bonaventure and the other the Melody, which is featured for its micro units being converted from shipping containers. All of these units come furnished, and residents are provided with wraparound services from the nonprofit organization Hope Atlanta. Articles show that Downtown Rising achieved their goal of housing 400 individuals back in early March. And while the project originally had this goal to be done by the end of 2025, no reason was initially given on what caused that delay. ILuvATL reached out to Partners for Home for comment on why there was a delay for the initiative, along with finding out how certain residents are chosen for this. We also reached out to Hope Atlanta to find more information about the wraparound services and care that they provide to residents. Both organizations have yet to reach back to us. So now that brings us to last month. I wanted to interview the Unhoused community to get their own opinions of what life has been like since the World Cup has started, but I was met with a little bit of adversity. How's Zoom? Oh, okay. Good. Yo, what's up? I spent the past hour trying to speak with people to get their own account of what it's been like living down here. I went to Woodruff, I'm right here down at Hurt Park, but to no prevail, nobody wanted to talk about the situation. When approached to one woman, her only response was that it didn't even matter. Park enforcement was told all over Woodruff to not allow anybody to give any assistance, whether it be food nor water. And all in all, this whole situation is kind of sad. Now let's pause right here. You see, what I didn't know at the time is that Downtown Rising originally had a plan about this. One of the outputs that Downtown Rising had was a quote, reduction in legal meal distribution and quality of life violations. This could be because Downtown Rising had its own approach on feeding strategies, consisting of structured feeding spaces, education campaigns, and approved feeding practices. Now, to define more information about this, we reached out to the senior advisor to the mayor on homelessness, Shatikwa Ellison, for comment. She has yet to get back to the show. And that's it. After 4 months of research, emails, and interviews, this episode still kind of feels unfinished. I can say I was a bit naive in the start of this, thinking by the end of this video there would have been a resolution, but there truly isn't. The unhoused community is still suffering around downtown, and while the city may seem that they have an eye into this matter, others think it's due to the impact of the World Cup, and when it's over, all of this progress is going away.
Apartments are great, the units are great, they're getting the services. I think that's wonderful. However, we have an additional 1,000 people who sleep on the streets of Atlanta, and we have an additional 1,500 people who are in temporary accommodation, whether it's hotels, motels, shelters. And so the question then becomes, what happens to those people? From Playfair ATL's perspective, we've always been worried. The answer is going to be like, because this is a business-driven, the Downtown Rising Plan is fundamentally a business-driven plan. They're going to be like, okay, we've run out of houses, let's just start arresting them.
But through it all, I still wanted to title this episode Unfinished, because I know there's more I can do. And with the platform of the show, I can help these people down here that truly need it. Currently, we don't take any profit from these episodes. Any future profit, whether it comes from past or future episodes, will be donated to nonprofit organizations helping the housing and unhoused community. And for my final remarks, I know a lot of people will find this episode ironic. I love Atlanta. I was raised here. From every field trip to doctor's appointments. I love the atmosphere, the buildings, the people. But to love something is to take the good and the bad from it. And truly, with all the bad that is happening in the city, I hope that this episode and any future episode that come from it can help change it and make this city a better place. I thank y'all for watching, and I'll see you when I see y'all later. So back in May, I was able to meet with the... She's fucking dancing. Tell her to stop. You keep doing too much.